Testing, testing. Hi, hi. What's going on, babies? So, uh, no decisions have been made, man. Just I think consistently trying to approach things in a different way. I think the best way to say this. But I realized that these two books of notes are becoming a lot more of a burden on me than they are actually like, yay, I got something to kind of like discuss. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start kind of considering this as the job that I do and the actual like movement towards it. Super fun. The end of this book is actually a wonderful note from a person I used to know. I have a deeply hidden and inarticulate desire for something beyond the daily life. Virginia Woolf. Cool. It's a nice quote. All right. Today's video. The game of tag between you and your thoughts. A dynamic, you're it. There's been a vibe around thoughts over the past couple of like notes and the dynamic game of tag between you and your thoughts. A dynamic, you're it. Uh, the dynamic, you're it. I really think that it's more. So okay, so over the past 4 days, I've been having conversations with people, and the people I've been meeting are people that have kind of like started to shift at one point in their life and are trying their best to kind of like incorporate the new aspect of themselves where they interact with the world differently. It's the easiest way for me to kind of like explore how the average people that have been attracting me are interacting with life. Now, some of them completely do not like me, and some of them kind of like are very much a bit more open. And so I really think my issue is the fact that I'm genuinely trying to ask more questions. But I also saw that within myself, I kind of have a way to direct which answers would work and not. And I'm not sure if that's me being imposing or if me just being genuinely uh, interested in revealing my point of view in a different way. So it's just me noticing that even the questions that I'm asking are diving into realms that people are not really like comfortable in sharing, maybe. And most of them actually share, but it's funny because like once you shake someone's core or once you touch like a spot that has been, and for a while I used to think that it's just hidden from them, right? So like for me, if there's something, and that's something that I've been seeing in a few of the people, that if there's something inside of you that's kind of like hidden, they get excited to kind of be like, aha, it's an interesting way to look at it. And for me, it's just like the frame of mind where you're approaching things is more like interactive with the possibilities. Yet on the other hand, there are some people that kind of that have been responding as if they were under attack and again asking enough questions to kind of expose something that they didn't really like think about, that they didn't really process, they didn't really want to bring to the world. They have been hiding, keeping to themselves. Like, I don't know how to look at it, but it feels more of an intrusive behavior instead of, which makes me think like, how do we actually converse, right? Like, how do people actually interact with each other? It gives a new, full new meaning to like how we shallowly interact. Oh, again, like when I'm asking a question, my thoughts are coming up with the question, right? Whatever dynamic that we're creating between ourselves, with the people that are having a discussion, there's that space in between that they're filling. And that space in between is kind of like being filled with their images of themselves. I actually wrote an article about it. It's funny, it was inspired by somebody, like super beautiful soul, always smiling, right? Like these are the people that we need to protect at all costs, but these are also the people that weren't protected when they were supposed to, I guess, or just something like this. But anyways, so when two people are interacting, the questions that kind of like come up or just like the statements that they make, and it feels we're only going to find out. It goes back to that Buddhist saying, like if you speak, you're only repeating what you know, but if you listen, you might actually like learn something new. And learning something new about others is the whole point of kind of like, I don't know, why the fuck would you want to hang out with anyone, right? Just to kind of explore new things, and ultimately it's how their experience, basically, how their experience is expressed. Because adults don't really like don't have a there we have as much a clue about the world as children do. The only difference is we're more opinionated. And an effective or efficient adult basically gets to just is able to share his experience or her experience in a way that others can actually like. You don't have to go through something like this, but you still get to make your decision. And most people just decision away based on experiences we trust or stories we rely on or something like this. And so ultimately, when you're having a conversation with somebody, and again, like this book is about 2 months old, or at least this book is about 4 months old, but this note is 2 months back. So like if the game, I'm pointing at the game of tag between you and your thoughts, and it feels like it's more of a the thoughts are allowed to run around rampant, right? And what effectively you do is kind of like choose the thoughts that are allowed to run around rampant. And the thought is being prepped to exist in the real world because the more it runs, the more it kind of grows, the more it picks up like momentum and all kinds of good stuff. When you say dynamic, you're it because like there's the thought is it, but then at one point the thought is kind of like gonna run out of steam maybe, and then it comes back to you. So here, that's how I actually like would describe it. You have a bunch of thoughts in your head, and now some of them are worthy, so they're tagged. Some of them are not worthy, so they kind of run around. And funny enough, let's create the placements of thoughts are based on the things that you kind of want to do. So the environment reflects on you, and you basically, every environment will give you enough thoughts, I guess, or just triggers you enough for thoughts to come up because it's giving you something that you've experienced before. And the level of your experience basically brings the height of your thoughts. And it doesn't, there's no positive or negative here. There's just like random things that this environment triggers you. If you got into a fight once at a street corner somewhere, then every other street corner that looks that way is going to get you on guard, right? Now, whether you see your thoughts or not, they're in your head. They're kind of like, what if something happens here? It's a thought. What if somebody jumps you? For some reason, you're on guard around certain kinds of people because, right? Like, all kinds of stuff are triggered by, are different triggers within an environment that happened. And we do a good job kind of like bringing more environments into our realm as we interact with the world. So ideally, like with every environment, you want to play the game of tag, basically. Okay, you're it, you're it, you're it. And the other thoughts, you're kind of like, sorry guys, like we're not going to be working with you. Go find somebody else that are within that enters such an environment. And it's funny because, like, if I were to choose running, a lot of people choose running. Does each one think of running differently? Probably yes, but it's still the thought of running. So it's one thought shared by all, and maybe we can use that as a form of like consciousness. Like, what can I do in this world? And consciously, I'm choosing something that other people can choose. It's the way they come to that thought is basically their journey, right? So a dynamic game between you and your thoughts is more like, okay, this is a new environment, and your thoughts start running, and you start chasing them around. You go like, you're it, sorry, dude. Like, no, game is over, or I'm not interested to play anymore, or I win, fuck yeah, I got two thoughts. We ran around, we played so hard. Like, not every party you go to, you have to make friends with everyone, right? You kind of have to only make friends with a few people. And then, but kind of develop the reputation where, like, if certain people would want, like, because every event, eventually, like, a running event is different if you're running alone in the morning or if you're running in a marathon. One comes with a lot of competitive edge. So what you're doing is you're kind of like competing as a thought versus with running as a thought. Now they're kind of like binding together and developing a certain way for them to kind of like create a different thought. Like, I want to start running marathons. Something like that kind of like has become a reality because of the thought of competition, the thought of running, the thought of practice, the thought of training, right? Like, all of them kind of combine together for you to be like, this is where my direction is going. So effectively, you're kind of playing the game with your thoughts in order for you to dynamically create the reality that you're looking for. But the reality itself is shaping you, and that's the whole point of us interacting with the environment the way we want. Dynamic is key here because sometimes you kind of get excited, overly excited, and you kind of pick a couple of thoughts and then you take them with you to a different environment and you apply them to the different environment. And eventually you go like, okay, this is exhausting. I don't like this, or this is not in the direction that I want to go. And then you kind of stop playing tags with those things, with those thoughts. And maybe we can look at life the same way when it comes to friendships, right? Because ultimately, like, our lives, if we look at the journey of our life, how do we interact with people? Because we're attracted to people of similar values, similar principles. Mentally as well, we kind of like choose the thoughts that adhere to our values and to our principles. So effectively, what we're doing is we're values, principles, these are always in the center. They are the exploration of our intention. Huh, all right, this is fun. It's a video.